Now we're live, so don't bring that up
Yeah,
again. Hello,
yeah.
everyone. Welcome to the
Welcome.
Prince of Nothing and Owen show for a very special episode. What are we doing today, Owen?
We are reviewing F4, The Withered Crag by Guy Fullerton. We've not actually done a Guy Fullerton module here before.
No,
Um,
maybe we give
so,
a. Who is Guy Fullerton? Why don't you tell me?
I feel like you'd be a better guide to Guy. He's an, I guess you could call him an OSR luminary if we are happy to use that term.
I think he
The
would take
OSR.
umbrage almost
Which I
at
think he
being
might.
called
Yes.
OSR. I think this is
Yeah. Yes.
some
Exactly. Yeah. This is
proto
yeah. Yeah. This is
OSR
part of the
guy.
thing.
This is some
Exactly. Yes.
AD&D Knights and
Mm.
Knaves alumni. Some guy
Yeah.
who's just been
Exactly. Exactly.
playing uh,
Through the
playing
whole
AD&D
time
for a long time. Yeah,
since the
and
year dot. Yeah.
he collaborated briefly with
Mm.
with a rare individual, and he's even published through Chaotic Henchman publications that the rarest of rare things, a Rob Kuntz module post TSR
Mm.
era that actually exists and made it to print, and it's not nothing.
It's not an imaginary thing. Yeah.
It's not something that was announced and then just never delivered on.
um. On theme. Oh, well, where's my cursor on my mouse over here? Yeah. Theme is just in the chat. Yeah. We'll catch it on the catch it on playback theme. Nice to have you though.
That's right.
Enjoy work if that's the right thing to say.
Yeah.
I suppose
And
it depends what your work is, doesn't it? Like, if are you a wine, like a wine buyer, or are you a floor cleaner? Kind of question.
yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
so Guy
yeah.
Fullerton, he's also done let's see, Many Gates of the Gan, and I believe The Fane of Poison
Mm,
Prophecies. I've previously reviewed
yeah.
Many Gates of the Gan. I was quite impressed by just the
You like Gates again, yeah?
yeah, yeah. Well, with Fullerton, the there's definitely atmosphere there as well, right? There's a lot of like
Mm-hmm.
it is fantastical, but well, it's just rare to see a person have such a firm grip of like the, I guess, sort of the fundamentals of AD&D, right? So
Mm-hmm.
these adventures, they feel very sort of like solid without being too conventional or boring. There was to contrast it, there was another guy who did OSE adventures. I want to say something like whatever, Tower Silver Axe or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
Tower of I forget the guy's name. I did get Tower
By
of the
Jason
Silver Axe, yeah.
something. That one,
Yeah.
I think, is a good example of something that's like sort of like too vanilla, and it's like too.
Mm,
You're actually going. You're not going hard enough. It's too safe, right? But with Guy
yeah.
Fullerton, it's like this sort of like this mastery of the fundamentals, and then but you're still, you are taking risks, or you are at least willing to get your hands dirty, and deliver, full, complex, rich environments with
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
wide plethora of challenges, which leads us to the Withered Crag.
Yeah. I
I
should
was
say
going to say,
also involved,
go
I
ahead.
was going to say he was also involved in Saving Throw magazine and other community endeavors. So, very
Oh,
much
great.
a stalwart of many good products and help and things that have helped people. So no,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
And, and a
but
little shout out to,
yeah,
I see Alex Zish did some of the
mm,
illustrations, and Alex Zish, of course, second place finalist in No Art Punk 2. So yeah,
the most
clearly.
important thing he's ever done. Some have said.
Well, not just some. Really, everyone I've talked to has
Yeah.
universally shared
So,
that opinion.
Alex Zish, you mean from No Art Punk?
Yeah,
That's what I say.
wow. He made another one. Better
Yeah.
get in there. Yeah.
And shout out to friend of the channel, Alan T. Grow Jr. Grow Dog, who's the editor
Absolutely.
here. There are also named playtesters, which is good. Um, you know,
Oh yeah,
uh,
I'm not. I'm definitely not surprised. So yeah.
yeah,
So this is, I mean, for the OSR, this is hardly. It's hardly strange that it's a level 1 and 2 module, but
yeah,
actually for AD&D, this is not so common. At least in the official
yeah,
TSR lineup. Why do
yeah.
you think
There's
that
only a
is, Owen?
couple. Well, I think one thing is that the modules that get published by early TSR are mostly, for a long period, they're mostly Gary modules. That obviously changes in the early 80s. The balance switches and it becomes mostly other people. but for a long time, the most regular publisher, the most regular author is Gygax, and I think he's just publishing the stuff that he's actually run that in the fairly recent years, that he's run at tournaments, that he's run at conventions, and a lot of that is obviously a lot of his sweet spot is high mid level and high level at that time. That's a lot of what that early stuff is that he's putting out, and so I think part of it is historical coincidence. And I think also, even in the 80s, well, why didn't they just reset it and do loads of first level modules or second level modules? Well, there's still some sense of needing to produce stuff for the fact that lots of the people who are buying AD&D are playing campaigns, and they are expecting a wide range of material and want stuff. I think that changes. I can't completely explain why in the late 80s and 90s you don't have a wider range of, because even then a lot of the adventures are actually mid-level. But I think it is that right. In the 70s and earlier 80s, I think there are comprehensible reasons to do with the growth of the game and who was writing for it that explain why. So it means we only have a few things. Like we have for AD&D, not basic D&D, you have T1, you have N1.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What else do you have in that period that's for first level adventurers?
I mean, there's some stuff in the tail end, but like it's almost like you discount it, right? Like the sort of the golden age, the 1978 to 1983 or 84 or something like that. It's like just very little.
Yeah, no, I think and as I say, it's not necessarily even that it then changes and resets with the new generations of players. Actually, it's one of the things about Shattered Circle by Bruce Cordell, which I think you've read, haven't you? Is like one of the first level modules for ages at that point. It's kind of weird. There hadn't been many first level AD&D modules really for years before that, and then
I mean, it might also have to do with the fact that like I have the idea at least that the sort of the default assumption of the game was to have like a big fucking dungeon in your essentially in the sort of the starter area.
Yeah.
Which
and even that influences as well. Yeah, that he's like, hey, you're gonna create your dungeon. That's obviously in the DMG. You're gonna create your dungeon, and and then I guess the point is when you're hitting higher levels, you might need a wider range of material because you might be like, oh, what happens if we want to go into the Underdark or go to a different plane? But early on, you're just going to be going
wander around the map too. It makes it makes a lot of sense to like in the beginning at least to stay to be a little bit more stationary because the wilderness travel rules, if you use them, are pretty deadly.
Yeah, exactly. They are, and which I assume you do in where your games are onto the overmap. But so for me, certainly that's something that I try to impress upon people is that there's some degree to which you can travel maybe major roads between settlements safely, or semi-safely, but elsewhere actually it's going to be pretty dangerous, and you really want to be not first level.
There's the random encounter frequency really helps in civilized areas, as well as the fact that 25% of all encounters in civilized areas are with patrols. So it's not that it's kind of manageable. I do notice that with overland travel, it consumes a lot of time. In the starting level PCs don't have a lot of like money to pay living costs or buy supplies. So there's another one. However, this is one, the Withered Crag, and it's not like a tutorial adventure either. It's like a proper, well-rounded adventure.
Yeah, and that's interesting as well because you can see that there are some things where people have gone for like we would need to get some kind of old school inflected first level adventure or second level adventure, but which is maybe more aimed at teaching people how to run the game or how to play the game. Whereas this is maybe a tiny bit reminiscent. It's not I don't think it's as brutal in some ways, but it's reminiscent of how T1, Village of Homlet, I'm thinking about the Moat House, is not really a dungeon for people who have never played D&D before, or this is like their second session. It's actually quite a challenging dungeon with some quite demanding things going on. And this is not quite as harsh as that, I think. But there's a similar thing where, it certainly has enough things which, will reward experience and intelligence rather than, simply being like, hey, baby's first adventure.
The infamous stupid fighter test, where if you replace any sort of party of players with just 6
6
fighters
fighters.
and just have
Yeah.
them attack everything. do you
Mm.
do you get through the adventure?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I
Does
think
it
that's
does it how does this one do with the stupid fighter challenge?
yeah. Well, I think that might be worth picking up as we go. Find out what will require spell use or absolutely requires thief use, I guess, or stuff that is intelligent enough as a challenge that you cannot simply say, well, hopefully we hit it with our axe enough and then we win. Um,
Yeah, I would say look for anything where if you you know if you try a direct assault, you're
mhm.
likely to get seriously mauled in the process.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
indeed,
sure.
indeed. Yeah, so there's some rumors. Let's just look. We'll look at some of the pages and not others. Yeah, this is the external view, and there's an initial gimmick. Oh, I should say, I'm going to immediately complain about the wandering monsters. This was the thing that stuck out most to me, something that irritated me, is giving a suggestive list of 5 things you could do if there's an encounter, but hey, just make it up. This is a classic. You buy modules to get them to do the resource for you. That's probably my single major complaint. But yes, the actual encounter suggestions are perfectly good fun.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
all right. Like it's sort of it's the crossing the i's and dotting the t's kind of problem, but for the most
yeah,
part, this adventure is totally usable. I
yeah.
didn't find it
I
that
agree.
offensive. Random encounter chances, 2 and 6 every 3 turns. It's all right. It's not great.
It's not. It's not. It's a funny one. That yeah. That's obviously. I think because I default to 1 and 6 every 2 turns is the most common thing I do in stuff I design. Um,
That's better. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. 2 and 6 every 3 is an odd one where you'll have 2 turns of exploration, and then you have what is like a meaningfully quite high chance of just getting your face kicked in every like twice in an hour. You're like, yeah, that's not particularly unusual. But yeah, but as I say, the actual encounters are fun. But yes, so you have this crater, and there is a big kind of rock in the middle of it. There's a mountain in the middle of
A
it.
fortress,
Withered Crag.
yeah,
Yeah, the Withered
carved out
Crag.
of the rock.
And obviously, the gimmick is it's quite hard to get in unless you realise that you want to come at night and you want to row across.
Um,
There
I,
is there
I'm
is
not sure if it would be
there is
that
a low
hard.
entrance. There is an entrance right at the bottom through the Dracopedes at
Yeah,
26, which is visible there.
yeah.
But the easier way, but like as in the way to get into something which doesn't have loads of quite dangerous creatures in it straight up, is the top. But that's that you have to come at night. That you have to think, the mist. This is unusual. There's magical mist here. And there's a boat at the edge. I don't think that's super hard to realise, but I just think it's interesting that there is immediately a barrier to simply, if you're it. The purely stupid player will be immediately baffled, I guess, which I think maybe that's a good thing.
Well, no, I mean the thing is though, this is I think a rare instance where the thief has a chance to shine. The climb walls ability. How often
Mm,
does that get
yeah,
spammed
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
very low level adventures, right? And
Yeah,
here
yeah.
it's perfect.
I like climb walls. I like it when my thieves realise that that it is a real 3D space rather than how do I succeed? Essentially the classic thing of like there must be a simple way. As if they're playing a Ultima game from 1989 or something. Um, I think it's clever.
Yeah,
It's good.
and it's rare to have adventures that actually have some verticality and allow you to like to approach that way if you have to sort of reward you for
Mhm.
not having 8 fighters. Once again, it's a good
Yeah,
one.
yeah, no,
There's a little subtle entrance there at I think it's like 33 on the other side. So yeah, there's like multiple ways
yeah.
to go about it too.
So that's one thing.
Really well
It
done.
is loopy. It is loopy doopied, I think is the official phrase.
That
It's
is the
loopy dooped
official
in
way
that sense
to.
that
Yeah, that's right.
there are multiple ways in. There are ways that you can do this. So yeah. I mean, yeah. Uh, what rooms strike you as super interesting coming in?
If you go to the actual map,
You want me to go to the map? I think that is like
yeah,
slide 15 or something.
that's right.
Uh,
Of
it's
a
right at the
14
end.
page of a 14-page adventure. I do love the idea of like that at night, sort of the crater fills with mist, which only wood can sort of buoy it up, and you can row across. I believe it was mentioned that it's a little bit like there's a chance you'd miss that, right? Because not many parties, when they find a fortress, they're like, okay, I spend the whole night sort of observing.
Yeah.
But there is I believe there's like a mimic.
Yes.
One of the
So you can
encounters with
meet
a
a
mimic
mimic
that
who
wants to
wants you
leave.
to escape. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who is like the nearest thing to a like negotiating NPC is not. It's the Withered. The main enemy inside the Withered, the main sentient enemy, aren't automatically hostile in every situation. To be clear. So you theoretically could deal with them in some ways. There are some implications that some of them might just be like rude to you or something, or confused at why you're there.
They like the way I interpreted that is like the Withered are like this. It's just this. It was well conceived as a sort of sorcery villain, like a group of like basically the followers of this monstrous, maybe or demonic demigod that's been has now been driven from the material plane, and they've sort of
Hey, chainsaw.
followed him in exchange for like and they've basically they've been granted inhuman boons in exchange for their mortality, and now they cooperate.
Yeah, and that's right. And
The enemies of man.
and so they're like religiously anti-human. So there's some who are in a barracks who are constantly chanting to themselves about how much they repent being human and how much they hate humans.
They take payment in like the severed heads of heroes, which they then through some process they petrify them and they put them on pedestals. And I was like, this is pretty sick. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's petrification. There's a petrification vat. Yeah.
That's right.
Of course, it does mean that if you have a mixed race party, you have and typically in AD&D I find that a lot. I might have like 3 humans and 3 non-humans or something like that. That's not super uncommon. It does mean that like your dwarf and your elf have an advantage there, don't they? They can go and talk here in a way that is more. They are less likely to have an aggressive response. They're less likely to be attacked. Probably.
I think your best bet is to have an assassin or some trickery. Like I feel you might if you encounter. But this, by the way, there's also part of the trickery or part of the interesting part is that basically the Withered are also they only show up at night. There's a chamber, and it's also holds one of the largest treasures. Like there's like this sort of closed doorway, and I believe at the very moment of like dusk, at sunset, and then the sort of inscription above the doorway, it changes into like a real sort of gemstone, winged sort of scarab like sort of mantelpiece, I believe. And the doors open, and then the Withered emerge from some sort of like some accursed demigod.
It becomes a route to their other world. So in terms of the map, that's what you wanted to look at next. It's obviously I think technically it's 32 rooms. So I would say it's pretty efficient in terms of the space taken up. Like it's 14 pages, including cover and back.
Oh yeah.
It is. It's 2 pages of maps. There's this page, and there's a page of the under caverns. And I
was going to say there was another critique that I didn't agree with, which was leveled at it, that they're just like, you're going to get in there, looted during the day, and then get out. But the whole point of it is that like at night, not only do the Withered themselves have treasures, and there's of course the altarpiece above the door, but they have like a sort of like stone keys with them that can be used to open certain areas in the Withered Crag, which themselves contain like a large amount of treasure. So there's like there is definitely an incentive to stick around and to.
I'm just looking on my phone at what. So, for instance, one of the there are a set of doors, for instance, behind on the lower level where I think there are basically locks in each direction. and that includes the trophy room, which has the trophies, but also unreliable waxen wings. That is behind a lock, for instance. And let's see if there's anywhere else. That's what room 7 is behind a lock. What is room 7?
It's a library or something, right?
Library. Yeah, the petrified library, which has 4 books, 3 of which basically you need are only for those who are willing to kill humans, i.e. non-humans, or a human who has killed like a fellow human or something recently.
Right. I mean,
And
with
scroll.
adventures,
So,
that's
yeah,
like that's
yeah,
no problem at all. Like these are
yeah.
all killers. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's that they need to be cursed by using the item and then kill another human. I guess that might mean they don't get the reward. They just don't get the curse. But anyway, the point is that it's several treasure rooms are behind stone keys, which you need to meet the wizard to get the keys from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And I guess that also for again a 14-page adventure with 33 rooms, there's quite a bit of variety in there. Like the lower levels, if you crawl up, it has like really narrow tunnels, and you fight the what are these called?
Dracopedes.
Dracopedes. That's right. Yeah. So that's it's very sort of constricted, and will require some choice of weapons and maybe what characters and formation, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one thing I've seen sometimes, is that I will sometimes put a squeeze in or something, and parties that have a small character, and it's interesting in terms of demis. Small characters tend to be the less popular ones, despite the fact that they're perfectly good. They're both useful, but they tend to be less popular. But I think actually having a halfling, you just realize on an intelligent map, the dumb fighter system. I guess you could have a dumb halfling fighter, capped at level 6, whatever it is. But the point is that it is another bit of a solution to the dumb fighter problem, that you cannot just run through killing everything. Meow, we are playing Vaults of Volcanos Delve 2 on the 30th of March, I think is our plan, Prince. Is that right?
I believe that's right. Yes.
Yeah. So
I have not enshrined it in play report. However, on the plus side, it was 5 rooms, and we have kept notes on the treasure and experience, so that will be.
Yeah, that's right. You sent me stuff about that. We're gonna do. I think we're gonna do at least one more Volcanos Delve, and then we'll see if we want to do something else with the same party. But yeah, that was very fun. I enjoyed that a lot. That's the last episode, the previous episode on the channel of this podcast.
Right.
But yeah. What we were saying, you were saying, so there's a variety of environment. I think in a way it's almost a cliche, but it's the best cliche that you should basically nearly always fulfill, is that, you're doing a 30-room dungeon, 32 rooms in this case. But even there, you should make space for something that isn't the main theme. And it sounds funny, because why would you need to do that? And I think it's something which is like, having stuff is like secret rooms left behind by the original builders of this citadel. Or caves with some strange monster, or like something, or there is, for some reason, I don't know, like there is a fungal grove with myconids in it, like underneath, and actually they're quite friendly, but they don't speak English.
The answer why you would do that,
whatever it is,
the answer is because it's an adventure. So if you get exactly what you expect, it's not an adventure.
Yeah,
right?
I think the idea that there are these different things that come up, and you're like, wow, I met something. Oh, we didn't expect to find that when we came here. That's part of the fun of this, and certainly also allows you to provide different challenges, rather than it's a barracks, and so there are 30 soldiers and they come out and fight you, and their treasure is they have some gold. Of course, that's how some of that.
Everything can be inferred logically and that sort of stuff. No, it is a fantasy adventure game, right? And it's kind of like part of the, I guess, more the ethos as well. So it's both. The gameplay is more fun if there's unpredictable challenges, but not totally random, obviously. But also, it appeals to the imagination if you encounter things that are, what do you call that? If you encounter the unexpected, if you go somewhere and you,
it is an actually useful, though it might not necessarily completely apply, the phrase mythic underworld, which was a kind of a in some ways maybe an unfortunately used phrase in some circles, but of course that's part of what you're doing, is that even if you're not in the underworld itself, The idea that this is a strange world full of wonder is both fun, you enjoy it, but also it provides a wider range of gameplay. And I think this is a thing about, we've talked about this, about what is Gygaxian naturalism. You could say there's very unnatural, super, almost like stream of consciousness dungeons we read. Those don't tend to be very good. There's very good hyper realistic dungeons in terms of like everything is kind of on a very tight logical chain. So something like AX2, which we've both reviewed. I think Gygax is somewhere in between. I think, and I want to put Fullerton into the Gygaxian naturalist camp. That it's like, oh yes, why wouldn't there be glass breathing like pseudo dragons or semi dragons, let's call them, underneath this strange citadel of humans from another, who nowadays live on another plane and serve an anti-human god and come here to make strange biomorphic armor.
For humanoid, this one is going to go more into the weird camp and less into the Gygaxian naturalism camp.
Oh no, sure, but it's not. I don't. But you might say it's touching on Gonzo, but it's not a stream of consciousness thing. It's not like, and here's a weird room.
Internal consistency to it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I think that's the definition for me. Gygaxian naturalism has a lot of that. The idea that it doesn't need to be that all the distances and all the densities of population are completely accurate to medieval Europe, but rather it needs to be that you understand why this little side room of whatever it is there. You can see why it's there. Doof wants us. No, Doof, we do not. If you super chat us, we will pause the stream.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. We might as well try, We have had one super chat ever, from Grimlocked. We had that one super chat. So he is still officially the best fan of the podcast.
Oh, for sure. No, Gygax always had like the you would present it as a sort of like it's fantastical, right? But as a sort of like a plausible ecosystem. Some of his adventures, and I'm thinking of even like Soycanth or something like that, right? But then you would have all that sort of quote unquote mundane fantastical stuff, and then there would be a level below that, right? Of more the truly like supernatural
like Lost Temple,
and strange.
Something like Lost Temple. Lost Temple.
Temple of Thara's Dune is a good example. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think so.
Yeah, or even the inner sanctum of like of Soycanth is also like totally applies. Yeah. So
he hints at elsewhere. So I was thinking, G1 obviously has there's a weird ruined temple here that might have some other which Joe Block, Greyhawk Grognard, he made a module about that actually. Similarly, he's like always hinting at maybe down this corridor. In that case, it's a ruined corridor next to the Dark Fane. Maybe there's something else weird. There's nothing to do with the giants. Things like that, but no, yes. Anyway, so there is a bit of a variety. There are Withered, there are Bloodhawks who are in some way cooperating with the Withered, and at the bottom there's Dracopedes. Those are the main things going on. I thought it might be worth just looking at the just how he lays it out and the rune text and stuff. Layout.
Hey, it's not unimportant.
No, it is important. Yeah, it is important.
Room dungeon, 14 pages. It's a little bit important.
It is, though there's not any incredible layout tricks, it is, I think, pretty clear, mostly because though there's some very close to breaking the rules stuff, like having bold text next to bold text in the same thing. At the same time, that it's just generally clear enough. Rooms start with numbers, it's the kind of thing at the very most anal retentive side end of things, you could be like, oh, can you glance it and definitely always get the right room? Maybe not. But I think I found it very easy to read. I think I'd find it easy to refer to. The information is reasonably, in a good way, dense. Like it is not very, very chatty.
No, that's right. You could parse this during like that's kind of important. That if you parse it during a game without missing anything. Pretty easy.
I guess the ultimate test is, and I think this is very hard for any module to do, so I don't really expect it from a module, is, can you pick up this module up and run a game with it without having read it beforehand? Well, very few modules that are any good are going to be simple enough for that. But, it's a good test of, can you pick up a room and know what you're doing with it? And here, you like dormitory, 6 stone bed-like slabs around the center, nice and easy. You have scale on the map, so you don't have scale in the description, you have scale on the map. Night, a group of withered sit on the slab, pointedly uttering self-condemning stanzas to themselves, blah, blah, blah. Has the summary statistical line, and it has gear. Each of them has a helm worth 100 gold pieces, and each of them has a one-use stone key. So that means that is a 400 gold encounter and 4 treasure keys. So it's actually a really valuable encounter, but it's summed up very quickly. It doesn't give an order of battle note on it in terms of reaction. Sometimes he does.
No, that's something you have to do yourself. I think it's actually probably reasonable. I thought about if you ever figure out that the withered come from a single single doorway in the dungeon, you might set up a hell of an ambush with I guess oil on the floor and caltrops, and then you know, just bushwhack them as they fan out. You could probably do a number on them.
With Tourette's, offend them.
What?
No, what? No.
Tourette's?
Nothing. Did you not see that story? No. Yeah. I'm
sorry,
about things like, yeah. Prince doesn't watch the news.
He'll be here all night, folks.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Play him off, Johnny.
Yeah. Everyone in the chat knows. I'm none of them commenting, probably because they don't know.
All right, buddy. Yeah. Next page.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, we're stopping the podcast here, guys.
We'll be here all night.
Yeah.
So, one thing with these the withered, I do like that to make them like kind of like, because it's like it's a minor effect, but it's probably fucked up. But I think if you fight them in melee combat, then they well, first of all, you can turn them even though they're technically not dead, and if you fight them in melee combat,
ghasts, but they're not destroyed. That means, I should say in rules terms, that means they are a lower planes creature, as in they are more like a lower planes creature, aren't they? So like
so sort of. Yeah, exactly. They're so close to like something. They're so fundamentally evil that they're repelled. By a whole
they require negative energy. Yeah,
it never
Prince has got negative energy. Yeah,
I know a lot about negative energy. Just ask my wife.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
No,
Bam.
Oh shit.
My mother-in-law came here. I tried to turn her.
Okay. Anyway, regardless, no, the right, this idea that if you kill them in their dying breath, they sort of age you, but then it's the adventurer is sort of generous enough to not have you sort of make a saving throw. Make a system shock roll or something like that. I think that's a good decision, because that would be too much.
For a first level, I guess for a first level party, it'd be less punishing because who cares about your first level character? But it's because your system shock is flat. It's based on con, not based on level. But it's something
just too much. It would be too much.
It's a lot. I think it's something. It's also that you can only, let's say there's almost a principle there, isn't it? There of like, you're going to put a system shock creature in terms of magical aging or a magical item that does that. Like I once, not personally on purpose, but just the role was there, did kill a player with a magical armor that requires system shock because I think it aged 1 year or something. But yeah, the thing is, you have one of those on a level or on an adventure, on a small adventure. You don't have like 13 of them or whatever, because they're like 13 withered or something like that.
It's just well, I mean, I guess in a game where you have these giant centipedes with a +4 save or die, it's not that strange. But yeah, I've had those before.
Oh yeah, Megalo centipedes. I actually did use a Megalo centipede on Sunday, which was the last survivor, along with the other centipedes it was with, of a big group of centipedes who the players encountered. And it's a decent mid-level party, so it wasn't so bad. But I was like, oh yeah, this could really do some casualties. And they just fired like 3 third-level spells into it off wands and like into the room full of centipedes. Like I think it's a web, a fireball and something else all at the same time. I was like, yeah, that is going to do it. That is a way to solve. As soon as you recognize this could be a deadly encounter, blowing your spells is what you do. So yeah.
I mean, it makes sense that they started nerfing the giant centipede later on, but well,
that's an interesting thing. Is a link? Let's say 6 fighters can of course defeat a lot of things. What is the point at which the very swingy, dangerous effects of the monsters you're fighting? And here's a question that applies to the withered here, but it also applies, say, to a bunch of Megalo centipedes, which in latter day AD&D are what has the save or die, rather than save or paralyze. Like, at what point do you have that the effects, the risk of getting into a lengthy combat, which is just going to be you fighting for 10 rounds, are so high that it is not worth doing?
I feel.
Does that adequately beat the stupid fighter test?
What the withered themselves?
Yes, the withered are example. The withered as a combat choice. I don't know if they're tough. I don't actually know if they're tough enough to reliably do that. But
no,
yeah.
it's you're just at you're going to, well, if you roll a 20-year-old fighter, you might actually want to age a little bit, so you can get the sweet extra con and wisdom.
Yeah.
But
it's
just a vicious little barb. Like you don't notice at first, but it's you also sort of intuitively I think realize it's bad as soon as you start magically aging. It's so good. So it's a really well chosen effect.
There are 2 HD that I think an encounter with 4 withered is not on its own. So in this room, 4 withered is not a sufficient swingy challenge, even though defeating them is what I do think it's clear. I think it's clever, by the way, that defeating them is what curses you with the D6 years rather than touch or whatever. That itself is clever because it means you can just run away if you don't want to fight them.
Yeah, or you take them. You can fight them from a
prisoner.
From a distance. Yeah, that's all well done. Yeah, AC 5, 2 hit dice. So what, Thaco 16 or something like that. It's this is no picnic. They're not not to be trifled with at level 1 to 2.
Yeah. But the point is that a party with like 3 fighters and a cleric and a magic user and a thief should be able
command do not allow for saves. So wait a minute, even when saves aren't allowed, they save.
They save it +4.
All the usual tricks, they don't work very good. Or they don't work so
well. No, sure, but the point is that it still depends, because I mean, hey, 2 hit dice, 9 hit points each. Their magic missile isn't amazing. 1d6, 1d6 +1 or whatever, or 1d4 +1 depending on version you're using. Like, that still is well worth doing. You can try to turn them, so the cleric has an option there. Like, I think there's enough. Like, it's something. Of course, it does reward having more than just fighters. It does reward having people who are not just attacking once per round and have AC 4 or 5. So it does reward having someone who can turn. It does reward having, even though they can save, people with sleep, command, color spray, whatever it is.
Or you, if you start to, if you actually fight them, you would want to do so at a distance, or you don't get magic.
Yeah. So exactly. So, halfling with a sling and an archer, like a fighter archer, or like a ranger archer or something. Someone who is likely to have better stats in that area, or a thief archer, equally because of dex. Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's right. And there's another one where the at the top you have the area of all these bloodhawks that are going to. What's another for a low level creature, pretty fucking vicious. 3 attacks per round. They're not ghouls, but they're bad.
They're not paralyzing you as well. I think that the most relevant thing compared to ghouls is that not also paralyzing you.
Correct. Yeah. No, but they're actually pretty dangerous. And having an area with like 20 of them at the top, but then also putting a bunch of treasure there, actually quite a bit. That's a good it's a good way to sort of like bait people. Like, let's see if they try, it's going to be pretty bad. Running away from bloodhawks is also going to be rough. But that's good. You have a pretty big chance of encountering them like in small groups. If you plunder the altar in the beginning, I think 2 of them fly in through the windows and attempt to take umbrage. So you're sort of familiar with the thing. But it's a non-conventional enemy choice. It's good. I like it.
That's one thing, is a way in which I think there's still in a good way a vanilla superstructure here, but it's certainly moving towards the more sword and sorcery vibe, and part of that is selecting enemies which I'm not even all select weird enemies that your players haven't fought before, but selecting pretty carefully to be ones that a party that has played plenty of first to third level adventures comes here, and they've got a mix of first and second levels or whatever, maybe a third level thief just about. And they come here, and there's stuff that they haven't experienced, and they can't cheese with their ordinary tactics. They have to work out what to do with what the most efficient way to deal with them is when they're there. And the Withered are a new monster, which also helps that. This page also has the Mimic on it, Rem Gyvis, who will try to stick you, but not try to kill you. He wants you to take him out. I thought that's a clever use of the negotiating with an NPC kind of dungeon trope. There is an NPC to negotiate with, but it is a otherwise normally malign creature who
a monstrous talking treasure chest or table. Right,
exactly.
That's good.
Because in this case he's pretending to be a bird cage. He doesn't. The only reward for helping him is he stops attacking you, so that's good.
Reward is he doesn't kill you, he doesn't eat you. Yeah, exactly. That's good. Of course.
Great.
But it as previously mentioned, it does give you an excuse to, if you arrive by day, it gives you an excuse to wait until nightfall, since I don't think he doesn't want to be carried down. He'll only take the boat basically across.
Yeah, or some similar solution, presumably. Let's say, I guess if you had a scroll of fly on you or something, maybe he'd accept that. I don't know. Reluctance to. He doesn't want to attack the Withered. He doesn't want to go out due to sunlight. He doesn't want to drop into the crater. So essentially, he wants to go out at night, but without seeing the Withered. So he's very demanding about what he does, what he will accept. Here's another room. The looking glass of Herlar, which is a mirror you activate with blood, and which gives you 1d4 damage. And 1 hour clairvoyance and clairaudience of anything the mirror's eyes can see, even after releasing one's grasp. So you can use it to spy somewhere. Like if you bring it into the heart of your enemies, and hide it in their room, then you'll then be able to spy on them with it.
Yeah, it's like
that's fun.
I think that one is going to go on the market probably once the PCs find out what it does. I think they're just going to sell it. But on the other hand, it is cool and sort of like thematically suitable, so I don't mind it. I don't know. Yeah,
I was going to say it's an interesting one in terms of its. I actually saw EOTB was just talking about this the other day, that the ratio here of XP to GP is cheap. It's high XP, low GP. So it doesn't do the 1 to 5 ratio, which is the most common thing. 1000 XP, 5000 GP. It is 1300 XP, 1500 XP, 4000 GP. So it's actually,
I see.
Yeah, there's one thing that actually some players might be like, we might as well keep it then. But of course, there's an interesting thing: the idea that it has a sub curse. It's not quite a curse, but it's that the strange entity who created it, the greedy Herlar, can spy on the possessor's plans.
Herlar.
Yeah, not Herlar, whoever that is.
Maybe just a guy.
Just some guy. He's not even like a wizard. He's not even like a wizard or an adventurer or a prince.
Hey, Herlar, what's up with the blood stuff? He's like, geez, I don't know. I thought it would be appropriate.
Yeah, I'm just a pervert,
First, there was going to be a button. You just press a button and you put it down, and then you look at it. But they didn't like that. They were like, no. Yeah. So I made it like a thorn. You got to prick your hand. Yeah, there we go. That's Herlar.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some abandoned experimental limbs. There's the Bloodhawk Roost, which each of the ledges has a red garnet. So you're a second level party. That's 1500 GP. That is a lot of GPs.
That's not quite training. It's half of someone's training costs.
Yeah. It's they know when it's soloing it. On its own, it is enough to at second level level your cleric or your thief. Yeah.
Is that right?
For XP,
it's 1500 for the
cleric.
Right. Yeah, the level that you're the level that you are, not the level you're trying to reach. That's right.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is if you're second level, you only need the same as you need to get to second level. Is the same. So it is enough for a second level like cheap PC to level on its own. Albeit you have to kill 15 Bloodhawks, which, as Prince has said, are quite bad. They're quite hard. So I guess that's the where you want to have some clever. You really want to have some clever options. Once you realise there's a bunch of Bloodhawks there, you either want to be baiting them, or you want to be, just Chainsaw going. Thanks, Chainsaw. Catch you later. Or you want to kind of come with an area of effect. It is one thing for low-level parties. This is level 1 to 2, as we said. You might get a third-level thief in, but levels 1 to 2, it's going to be hard to come with real area of effect stuff that's going to deal with 15 flying enemies or any number of them. Yeah, well, just sleep pretty. Or color spray. Does that? Yeah, color spray still affects them, doesn't it? As well.
Yeah, sure.
I think so.
But sleep seems to be the way to go here. Yeah, but and otherwise it's no picnic. It's that's like 3 attacks per round. 1+1 HD is a Takeo 18 or something. It's like this is not good. This is going to be pretty bad. So color spray is 1d6 creatures, albeit they will be very badly affected by it because of the hit dice. Yeah.
And then sleep is 2d4 hit dice. So sleep is they're similar efficiency. Technically, color spray maxes out at a higher number of Bloodhawks. But yeah,
hopefully, if you knock out enough of them, they would lose morale or something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say there's 15. So if you do it as a quarter, then they need 4. You need to take out 4 of them to create the first morale check. If you're doing it at 25% losses. If it's a 50, then obviously it's higher. But yeah, great. There's a dining hall. There's also Withered there with another piece of treasure. Abandoned experiments. The treasure in this, I didn't do a calculation. As I just
announced it in the prelude. It's like 11,000 gold pieces.
Because all I was going to say was I thought, it does say 46 characters with contains over 11,000 GP and loot plus 9 magic items. So the GP that is separate XP. No, I was just going to say that I thought that my sense was that the XP was decent and generous, and certainly 11,000 in material treasure plus magic items is pretty decent for a second level adventure. He said in his campaign some people gained level. I think that would be normal. I think certainly your thieves and your clerics should be gaining levels fairly regularly in this one.
For sure. Even if you actually playing AD&D, I started figuring that out. If you allow the player, it's actually much more fun to, instead of dividing the treasure XP equally all the time, is to just give the players the choice basically of how they divide it. So then they can accelerate somebody, or conversely, if they're only a few, they only need a little bit before they reach enough to level up, they might decide to sort of hold out on it, or all that stuff. It's just another extra sort of a tool basically in the hands of the player, which is good.
I was going to say I don't run it like that, but I do have it. What I've occasionally done is I've asked the players, so look, this has typically been when they've picked up a new player or a new character. This is in the open table game mostly.
Yeah.
But where they're like, oh, okay, so this guy has turned up for one session and he's first level and he's cast one spell to help you. But it'd be reasonable for you to give him a smaller share. That's up to you. But you can also give him a full share if you want, as in, you can choose what share. And in that sense, that I wouldn't go as far as you, but there's a similar thing where I have asked, essentially, do you want to be generous in a case with someone who basically then gets to level up? If you give them the share, they level up.
Exactly. It's I don't mind that. And to answer the question as to the generosity,
is sleep overpowered?
Oh
no, sorry, what were you going to say? Generosity of the module. Generosity of the module. Say about the generosity of the module. Yeah.
It's about what do you call it? Slightly above average, I think. I have this huge sort of Excel file where I track like all of these adventures, and I look at like the average level. I look at the number of rooms, number of expected characters, and then just XP per room per character per like level. And it's slightly more generous than the average. So it's like it's good. It's a good level of risk versus reward.
Though the per room and per monster and per trap thing matters a lot, the most raw way to do it is just to say the leveling, the fighter who goes into this adventure needs 2,000 XP to level, assuming he is at a level point like 0 or at 2,000. And because the fighter is the base, the set, what do you call it? He's the base level for what XP is really.
Standard,
2000
sure.
XP,
The
yeah,
baseline,
the
course.
baseline. That's what I'm
The
talking about.
default,
So in that case, 12,000 XP will do 6 fighters. The 6 dumb fighters.
6 dumb fighters can level up once.
Yeah, exactly. And
if they find all of it,
in fact, they, given it'll be a different mix, it should probably mean that on average, if you completely emptied it, which is hard, it's going to be hard to do that, you would end up with everyone leveling and having a bit left over, depending on the party mix. So yeah,
absolutely.
I think it is in that sense, it is a generous enough. It's not crazy, and it's also not easy. It's not like, oh, it's 10 rooms and it has 12,000 XP.
Okay.
And one of the rooms has a trap and 4 have monsters. Yeah, that'd be too easy. But it's about the right rhythm, because 32, I think for me, I run shortish sessions, I guess. It might, I could see a party clearing a lot of this in 2 to 3 2-hour sessions. Like say 3 2-hour sessions, 4 2-hour sessions maybe.
That's fast. I would estimate like 3 sessions, 4 hours each at minimum.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody would do it in two sessions. That seems like 33 rooms in 2 sessions is pretty heroic. That's pretty fast.
Well, I think it depends on your rooms per hour, as in I think what I found, having measured, because I wanted to keep myself honest, and I know some people who are really like, actually, I can do like 6 rooms or 8 rooms an hour. I'm more like, I think this kind of thing is more like, I'm more like 3 or 4, I think.
3 or 4.
Proper. Now it depends. Is it like easy rooms with nothing happening? Okay, you do more.
Well,
is it a really complicated room with a really complex combat encounter? Yeah, you're doing 1.5 rooms in that hour, aren't you?
Yeah, and of course also, like how much do your players sort of like interact? That's right. But 3 or 4 rooms per hour is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think that's where I find myself. Yeah. As I say, I did start counting because I was like, I think there's a useful accountability.
I track it. I track it in my play reports. I'm interested.
Yeah, indeed. And obviously, it's great if you can run quicker than that in an efficient, fun way. That is better, not worse. It just depends whether it is. I can't, so it's fine. Meow asks, "Is sleep overpowered?" Classic question.
What do you think? Oh, you passed it. You passed it. I should answer. Okay.
I'm asking you. Yeah, I'm happy to answer.
It's certainly the strongest first level spell. I would never remove it because I feel it's almost like the essence of what a wizard spell is. Kind of is meant to do. Not in the sense that it just instantly obliterates an encounter and ends it, but it can actually turn like a bad situation around totally. And in the beginning, my wife complains about this, but like in the beginning, you really, as a wizard, you don't have like very many spell slots at all. So having the ability to sort of turn it around, that's pretty good. Conversely, if you would, however, to answer that question properly, if you would give sleep to like enemy spellcasters, your PCs would probably get really mad. Although again, you can have an elf in your party that would help a little bit to hedge it, sort of. But short of that, they can just wipe out all of your first level party. You can melt a party of adventurers with 1 sleep spell as a casting time of 1. It's pretty good.
I think there's an understanding, and this is something where understanding the way that, and it's a delicate point, because you could very quickly fall into either ditch on the side of this narrow and true path. But there is a degree to which there is both a symmetry between the tools available to the DM and the player, and an asymmetry. The symmetry is you're both using the same rules, and I don't think you should fudge. I don't think you should muck around. There might be occasional things where you recognise either you've made a mistake with the rules, or you have massively misdesigned something and you didn't realise. There are reasons you might very occasionally change, and in those cases I'll always be very open with my players about this is why this happened. But generally speaking, you play by the same rules. However, the DM is allowed to have monsters who have different stat lines to characters. Look at a monster manual entry, and they have different stuff they can do, and they do not have to abide by the same rules that players do, unless players have magic items that circumvent that. And so the principle there is that the players are, especially, there are more players than there are of you. They are cleverer than you, at least en masse. Even if you have 6 dumb fighters, their -2 standard deviation intelligence will eventually catch up to you, right? When it's massed together. And so it is okay to recognize that that is an advantage to the players. The advantage the DM has is that he can pre-plan and that he can come up with specific challenges that really test the players and make the players think and suffer. But on the other hand, the part of the fun is that the players, they're on the power trip. They are doing these amazing fun things, and if the game turns it, and essentially you are the environment in the sword and sorcery story, right? And the players are there to conquer or die, and it's fine to kill them. But if it becomes apparent that essentially, because you can just write in that every single monster has sleep, if you want, you're the DM, you're allowed to, but it won't be fun. And there's a lesson there that the point is that the asymmetry includes self-limitation to create an interesting, challenging dungeon where the players are able to do stuff and get away with stuff that the DM can't, just as the DM can get away and do stuff the players cannot. And I think sleep falls into that bracket. As a DM, I do not think sleep is overpowered when used by players. I am 100% fine with players having it. Now, if you want to have a party entirely of magic users all with sleep, that's fine. You will die.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of exceptions too. Like it quickly loses its efficacy as you go up. So it's almost like it's a sort of a speed boost when you just get started. To sort of like an escape button.
Yeah. And it is almost the opposite in that sense. Well, I'll read what Alex said. I actually got 2 messages. I'll go through them in a second. I was just going to say that it's also almost the opposite in that sense of other good first level spells, Magic Missile and Burning Hands, which are both spells which scale. Both of them become, Magic Missile is always okay because it hits automatically. Burning Hands starts quite weak, but both of them become very good when your wizard is like 4th or 5th level or whatever it is.
Burning Hands is worse than just throwing a flask of oil.
In the beginning, it's quicker. It's much quicker because you're not. Depending on how you time those things. But the point is, it's not meant to be a spell that first level wizards are constantly using. Whereas a 3rd or a 5th level wizard, you should start using that stuff. Magic Missile scales. Sleep is the opposite in that sense of Burning Hands. Is that the pyramid effect is at the bottom? It's so good here. Up here, it's good when you're fighting like 30 mooks in a room, like Forgotten Temple. As an example,
having a sleep spell at higher, like mid or even high levels ready, having one sleep spell in case you encounter 30 guys with bows or something like that. Pretty good.
Because it is one of those things, by the way. A thing that is great about AD&D, if you want a definition of why it is a great game, it is that yes, you might have a brooch of missile deflection, but your 6, 13, 12th level characters could, if they're not careful, get fully murked by like enough missile firing enemies. But the thing is that players who are good enough, who've got to that level organically, are going to be thinking, how do we deal with the fact that we might get attacked by like 30, of the 30 hobgoblin guards of the Hobgoblin High King? How are we going to deal with that?
It's not just a case of being able to hit harder. It's also, or at least it should be a case of also like having better reconnaissance and scouting capabilities. Of course, that's the real force multiplier, that you don't just blunder into a room like that.
Let's go into the Hobgoblin King's barracks and find out what's there is a very bad way to go around as high level characters. I was going to say, Alex said he was just pointing out that the Bloodhawks are encountered as wanderers or as summons, which means that by the time the party scale the building and explore the roost, all the Bloodhawks were depleted. So it is possible that if you play it both as a DM, you run it per the rules, but also the players are exploring organically and don't manage to get to the roost as their first, serious encounter. Actually, it becomes just a reward room. Wow, there's this empty roost. This must be where the Bloodhawks lived, and it's worth 1,500 gold for
the exactly. Yeah. That's fine. Feeding them in detail. It's very Napoleonic.
Indeed. Study the 1806 campaign if you want to play F4 Withered Crag, is what we're telling you.
Exactly.
Great. We were off stream. We were talking about the Catalanarian War, so this is where we get our ideas about how to play the game.
It's not entirely false in the sense that the Roman history that I've been reading has started seeping into my campaign design. That's true.
what you're saying is there are a lot of violent mobs in the city. That is super. That's what you're saying. Super accurate. Yeah.
Right.
The entire. Yeah.
Can we? There was one more. There's a crystalline automaton. I think that's worth like sort of like showcasing.
Yeah. I know. Yes, the crystalline entity. Do you remember that? Oh, let me find where it is again.
Star Trek.
That's, no, it's from the. Yeah, it is. It's well, there's 2 episodes. One of it is just going around wrecking stuff, and then 2 is like Law brings it back for some reason.
To eat colonists, and then Picard is like, "Those beautiful, unique creature. No, we can't kill it. It has as much right to be here as you and me."
Meanwhile, Prince is at the weapon station, and his hand is slowly moving towards the button while he's at the weapon station. Yes, Captain Picard.
Of course, yeah. Oh my god.
Oh no, we fired the space nukes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is here. It is 13. Guarded storage. I will check. When I check the map, tell us about the guarded storage, Prince.
Oh gee. Well, this was one where I was like, this is kind of like the big. It's not really a boss monster. It doesn't work like that.
It's a sort of mini boss. I think it has the biggest vibe of that.
Yeah, and instead of like we're doing a complex encounter with multiple creatures, okay, one big fuck you monster, and you can kind of tell this is not an introductory adventure because it's the 6 hit dice. That's the Goldilocks zone that's the zone for going a little bit hard. This is basically you could have put an owlbear in there, basically, right? But this one, I think it shoots gemstones.
So it has a gem
beam, something like
so
that.
It attacks in melee. So it has 2. Yes. It is both. It has 2 melee attacks, which are 1d6 each, which is not lovely. I mean, it's going to be at THACO 15 or whatever, isn't it? So it's
6 hit dice. It's going to be worse.
Is it base THACO 15?
It's going to be even better. No, because like 2 to 3 hit dice. I looked that up, or at least I think so. 2 or 3 hit dice is already THACO 16. So like 6 hit dice is going to be.
Oh yeah, but because on the I can check.
It's 13. Owen. Yeah. It's THACO 13. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to get the table. Well done. You beat me to it.
It's going to hit pretty hard. And 30% magic resistance. It's going to be immune to magic effectively.
The MR is perhaps, I would say the MR is perhaps a tiny bit harsh there, isn't it? For specifically, just you're like, that is a big low second level party versus monster with MR 30%. That's hard. It only has
it's already immune to like probably sleep spells too. So this is one where it's going to have 60% magic resistance. You do actually need a party of retarded fighters to deal with this. It's the only way you're going to get through them.
Yeah. What I was going to say was it tries to stop non-withered. It has a mouth gem which fires 1d4, and it morphs form and power each round, so you randomize. It can be a banded agate, which is a 6-inch ray, save versus ones or sleep. So monsters having sleep. Didn't we just say that was unfair?
But you get a saving throw. That's totally generous.
Yeah.
And it's one person that gets. I would be happy if it's only that.
Yeah, gust of winds, basically frontal until next use. Moonstone, 6-inch ray, save versus ones or 1 round of convulsions, and rapid hair. That's essentially just
hair. Does he mean rapid hair growth?
I think so. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So that is essentially a stun. That is 1 round stun, essentially.
Yeah.
And Onyx is save versus ones or attack ally or self once. What you could say is it's a tiny bit like it is a reskinned and rewritten Beholder, isn't it? At one level, it's the idea. There's different random eye attacks.
I guess it's
like that.
So the Beholder. I guess a Beholder is a little bit more tactically interesting, I guess, because if it's like you can levitate as well, and it presents a problem too because you how you position your party is really going to affect how it's going to perform against them, right? Because it could I'm trying to recall. I believe it could only fire like a limited amount of those beams in the same direction, unless
Yeah,
you're right
that's
above
right.
it,
Yeah.
in which case
Hmm.
it can fire all of them. So this is one where you have to be circumspect, and then it has an anti-magic ray as well. Beholder is, but this is this thing here is more of I think it's gonna run into them and do serious damage. But you would probably,
Yeah.
if you're one of those PC groups, I don't know about you, Owen, but mine usually have a bunch of 0th level characters with them, many of whom tragically died in the last fight against ogres and hobgoblins. It was really sad to have like I had a I had them start off with a bunch of like 0th level characters, and they're like brothers. And now one of them is dead. It's very sad.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this
I was going
beam
to say I
thing
do
is
have
just a
in
little
in my,
extra annoyance.
yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
so
in my
bad.
profile game, I do have a dad and the two sons are his half brothers. Like one player created 3 characters of the family. None of them have died, so
Okay.
that is so far so
Here
good.
it
I
was
think,
actually very like
yeah,
very sad to have like one of them died and the other one was just I guess he was chopped down and they stabilized his injuries, and then to have him like wake up and go, "Hey, listen, pal, your brother is gone." It's like, no,
yeah,
yeah, I have to go to his. I have to. They're bringing his body back to the farm where they
yeah.
came from.
Right, it's good grist and inspiration for vengeance. That's what I think.
That's right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, it's a slightly different thing. That room has a within the mound, the cart-sized mound of coal. There is 1,000 GP diamond. I mean, a potentially tough find there. That is, by the way, 1/11th of the treasure XP of the money treasure. Is hidden in the
It's
coal.
not nothing, that's for sure. This is
Yeah.
one where I think you have you have common sense and verisimilitude, and the second one is sort of like there's a game design principle that usually but not always holds true, where if if you have an unusually tough encounter, then usually there will be some sort of reward
Mhm.
there, I guess, but not always, I guess. So it's intermittent. But
Yeah.
if your game over a long period of time doesn't follow that curve, I do think presents a problem.
Yeah. I was going to say you do have a little puzzle encounter at 14, which so the way basically the way you come in, you can go either way round. Like you can go to the upper level and then possibly you can go down again. No, you can't. No. So essentially, if you come in the front, you are heading round counterclockwise, and you can potentially bypass some rooms by going to the low level and then back up. But if not, you are going counterclockwise round to this room 13 with this entry, and then there are other rooms beyond which have other good stuff in them, some of which we have seen. But the trophy room, the dining hall, the vestibule, the overtaken lounge, things like that, abandoned experiments. But there's this grand head of fools which has like you need 3 keys for that each mouth near hole open to a foot deep 4-inch diameter shaft with a keyhole at the far end. Manipulating the fake tumblers triggers a trap partway in. Stone flanges swing closed like a shutter to trap the wrist of a would-be opener. The trap stays shut until all 3 trigger, at which point they release, and the cranium lid also unlocks. And there is a genuinely quite good piece of treasure, 200 GP silver flagon containing stone giant strength.
That's well, the potion is pretty good. Yeah, this is another one where it's just it's kind of a little bit enigmatic. A giant stone head, which I wonder what started off the trend. I know that Gabor is quite fond of them, giant stone heads. I myself being what do you call that? Having a fantasy nerd soul, I'll trace that back to whatever the Abraham Merritt story, the Face in the Abyss. But who knows? Maybe
I mean, I think some of this is
Stoneheads are
Easter.
just
It's Easter Island. It's Easter Island, surely.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, they're
yeah. I
just
think
they're in our mind, in our collective
yeah,
unconsciousness.
yes. It's very Jungian, isn't it? It is also, by the way, with difficulty you can pivot this. if you want to, towards the east-northeast, and then it opens up a vaporous door, which might knock you out for 1d6 rounds, but if you go through it, you get into room 18 rather than having to go through room 17. So, and room 18 has 2 Bloodhawks and the Looking Glass of Herlar in it.
There we go.
So it's kind of a weird, which is kind of a weird secret door to have and way to get it. I think a tiny bit of this goes a long way. I think it's quite a fun idea. And I think that it is a puzzle that is one that I'm thinking, would my players in most of my groups be able to work out, we need to depress all 3 keys at once. We need a lockpick in each or whatever it is.
Well, you can just experiment with it a while, right? That's kind of like the fun of it.
That's one thing. It is very kindly not taking your hand off, is it? It's not like it severs the hand. It's you're trapped. One person is trapped, and the risk is the 2 and 6 every 3 turns of a wanderer.
Yes, or even if you would, let's say you barricade yourselves in, then at some point, if you're there by day, again, maybe the night begins to fall, and then the withered emerge. So maybe this is another one where you can
play around with time, So, but it's a clever enough thing. I think most parties are going to be able to solve it. So it's not. The point is, there's no point in having complex puzzles which only one player will enjoy doing, and it will take him half an hour, unless he's doing it in his own time. There's no point. It's not a good experience. But this one is one that is simple enough that people can work it out. So
it's cool to have something where the interaction isn't entirely obvious, nor is it so cryptic that they'll just never find it. Probably it's just one where you have to go a little bit deeper than to just say, okay, I searched the statue or something like that, right? Where just a random secret compartment. It requires a little bit of finesse. It's nice, and again, there's only one of. I was going to say this adventure just has a good. I think it's called like a vertical slice in game design or something like that. The point is that it has it has great variety of like different types of challenges, I guess, without being inorganic or without seeming
too much of exactly. It's not too much of a monsters or something like that.
No.
It's also that these things are proportionate in terms of you're talking about vertical slice, but also think pyramidally. Actually, there is more or less one puzzle of this kind in the entire dungeon. That's good.
Right. That's a good ratio.
For 32 rooms. One puzzle room like this in 32 is probably right. Now, you could be like, well, does that apply to monsters? So one monster room would be fine? No, that would be bad. Because the way we interact with monsters is a more central dynamic in the way the rules are actually written. But having the occasional thing that just creates a slightly different challenge and change of pace, I find players are usually happy to be like, "Oh, let's do something different for a bit." If as long as it's not that all the time they're having to do that. It's one reason they like a variety of adventure locations, because this is quite different to the last one. Whereas, and I think that's a good thing about this, is that it does kind of offer that variety. I think in the same way that the common monsters you're meeting are Bloodhawks and Withered, but there's also a Crystalline golem or whatever it is, and there's the Dracopedes on the bottom. I should say the Dracopedes are, just to give you the just to give you the I was going to say that there is the Dracopedes do have a dead halfling there who has 144 platinum, which is pretty juicy.
Nice.
I think.
Yeah.
And they have a horde which has that's another thing, is in terms of if you're going to thoroughly loot this, the Dracopedes have a lot of the loot right in the heart of their lair. I should say the Dracopedes themselves are 8 HD, 3 attacks, 1d3, 1d3, 1d6, and 2 breath weapons a day, which is 2d6 glass shards. That's quite tough.
Is that just is it a cone, the breath weapon? Because I imagine in these tunnels, that's like one of the worst areas to fight monsters with breath weapons in. If you're just all literally lined up. It's breath weapon one. It doesn't say anything extra. Where does it say? I think it might say something somewhere. Okay, so here, spray
20 foot long. It is a line, 20 foot long.
Ah, yeah, that's it. Can you show the map?
Yeah,
Because that's
I can.
that's fiendish. You better have
Yeah,
reconnaissance in place. You better have an elf.
yeah.
Do you ever play elves, Owen? Do your
Mhm.
PCs use the 4 and 6 surprise chance of the elf?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty
Um,
sick.
so they are. I'll just get the
Yeah,
room
look
code
here.
for that from because I've got the PDF here. 30. They are the big thing is that the adult Dracopedes can't go everywhere in the undercaverns. They
Right.
are mostly
They
going to
can't.
be in 30 between 27 and 36. So they can't go in the
Yes.
narrow tunnels. And they're not like just wandering around trying to find you, basically. What so a lot of it, they're going to be up at 36 and at 35, sorry, guarding the horde at 36, that kind of area.
Very
Um,
good. Yeah.
and so obviously, if you do go there, though, there are quite narrow corridors there. Um,
Yeah, where you
yeah,
could encounter the infants. Yeah, it's
yeah.
another one where again it's about variety of challenges. So having one level where
Mm.
it's like very constricted, and you have to think about like well, probably not just party formation is different, but also weapon choice would start to matter and like all that stuff. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, and what I was going to say, weapon choice. I do think party composition, yeah, as you say, as in this is where having a halfling thief, having Buttersworth, my halfling thief in Volcanos, like that's helpful because then you can scout out with him, and yeah, maybe depending on the size, you could also. It depends how are your dwarves completely crippled by the size as well? Maybe you let them crouch where a human would have to crawl, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
The point is that yeah, you can set up a situation where the players can create like a reasonably practical scouting solution rather than just being screwed. But then, of course, if the players do not have that kind of those resources, and it's something I've noticed occasionally, is I'm like, just with stable play, one thing you pick up is sometimes people are like, oh yeah, all the characters who are available are kind of a weird mix, but we're still doing adventure, that's fine, and we'll hire a footman or something, a couple of footmen just to help us.
Oh, for
Okay,
sure.
that makes sense. You can go on an adventure, but you can very quickly tell that they know they cannot do some challenges. If they're good players, you can tell they're like, no, not going to do that.
And
And
sometimes
it's because, yeah,
they discover that through a traumatic encounter with 7 fire beetles that wipes
yeah,
out people in
yeah,
the
exactly.
99th percentile of like stats. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's something where I think party mix, and of course, at first level, one thing, this is the first, second level adventure. One problem with that, this is not criticism, I like first level, but a problem in terms of how you design stuff is that the swing of fatality is is harsher,
Yeah.
and I think that does mean that like it's not even about composition or tactics. Sometimes it's just you make one bad or 50-50 choice and then people die. But when you're like
Yeah, for
fifth
sure.
level, and we'll answer Mia's question on this I think in a second more fully. At fifth level or fourth level or whatever, it is something where you notice when you've ended up going with I'm thinking about like a party that went on an adventure with three thieves. Oh, sorry, it was three thieves. Sorry, this second edition says two thieves, one bard who's a thief type, and a psionicist. And they hired some footmen because they're like, we just realized that only the psionicist and one of the thieves could really meaningfully be in the front line, and even they're not really frontline fighters. They just realized that, but of course they also had very limited casting. They were like, we'll have some potions, but we don't really have any healing. So we are very much a glass cannon. We have to sneak everywhere. And this was an interesting reverse thing to the whole six stupid fighters thing of like, they were like, how can we raid this river bandit chief's lair? And they're like, okay, we're gonna use a guy to scout. We're gonna use a guy with a ring of water walking and a cloak of elven kind to sneak up there and look and find out what's going on. And then we're gonna use Dimension Door, Sinus's version, to bamf in and kill them. And then if we have to run away, we Dimension Door back out. And like
Yeah,
they had some, yeah,
you
yeah,
have to. I feel
but
like it does sound very hard, and obviously I do
yeah.
like the psionicist class very much, but that you really have to think about it. Conversely, I notice in my group, for example, the party thief, he plays
Mm,
pretty well, but by always being in the second or third rank, he's kind of
mm,
reduced to chucking daggers or
mm,
occasional oil. Whereas what you really want to do is, as a thief, you I feel like you're much more useful if you actually do reconnoiter. and it may be a little bit more risky, but you're lightly armored. You've got good reflexes. Just run away, right?
Yeah.
And you should be able to get behind formations and like line up that backstab, and that's really like where your strength
I would
comes
say
in.
my players
Sort
reliably
of
use
enter
thieves.
meow
My
partially.
players do reliably use thieves to reconnoiter, as in that is because that's what, or they use other options that are parallel. So in the Greyhawk game, we have a shapeshifter druid, like as in using a kit that is better for shapeshifting, but weaker other stuff. And
like
in that case, the druid turns into a bird. That that is an option. But the thing is,
that's crazy. Yeah, druid is great.
You should let people have to do that kind of stuff. And what you can tell, the 6 stupid fighter thing is often the idea that an adventure doesn't require you to do that, because ultimately 90% of the time you'll be able to survive the encounter even if you have to retreat. But yeah, you need it to be something where it genuinely is valuable to have someone go ahead who has some chance of sneaking and who can run away quickly and who doesn't make any noise when they are walking, when they're sneaking around,
and
rather than clanking.
What I also notice is sometimes if you notice it when it's off, right? When like say when the cleric is placed too far from the front lines, where you have to spend the whole round to move like, what is it, 10 feet or something like that, or right, because and then you can't cast a spell, like that sort of I mean, usually then I would say, okay, goes off beginning of the next round or something like that, right? You can use segment-based.
You can be moderately generous to ensure that they actually get to do stuff they want, but it does slow them down because of the way that casting works. I'd say this came up not as in it, not that it was too far away, but it came up obviously with the cleric taking the brunt of the charge and then swapping back so he could cast. It's something where it was just it was something where you have to think about that. Whereas if people are just out of position, I mean it does depend on things. But we should answer Meow's question because it is relevant to what we're saying. Just if the question is framed like this, how does party formation matter? How would you answer it if framed like that?
Well, I mean, the examples that we gave are already pretty good. So it's really, I mean, especially in AD&D, it is a game of like position. And sometimes one round makes all the difference. So if you put players in usually it's not rocket science, right? It's just put heavy hitters in the front, guys with spears on the second line, ranged combatant, spellcasters, and that sort of stuff. Make sure that they're a bit protected, and occasionally consider, oh hey, wait a minute, what happens if we get attacked in the rear, right? These are pretty simple considerations, but as soon as you put people in confined, constricted areas where a standard front of like 3 guys with depending on the weapons, there might be 2 or may even be 4 that no longer applies. Then you have to like sort of like reassess and go, okay, shit, well, what do we do now? Okay, I guess the dwarf goes first. He knows unusual stonework, right? It's a little bit of an you present the guys with a complication. It matters. Certain spells have to especially healing, you got to do that by touch. So pretty important where the cleric is.
I agree.
And as I said before, what you do, where you put your thieves. Thieves are at their best when they're able to sort of attack a vulnerable enemy from behind. But it's not always very easy to do that. So
and it may not be specifically desirable, as in you're saying in combat it is most desirable for them to be able to do that.
They should do reconnaissance anyway.
But there may be reasons why the thief is not ideally placed for that for some reason or another. I think it's also that I was going to say, I'll come to the kind of the by the way, I actually realized I think we both assumed something. Meow, by formation do you mean the actual formation on the map, or do you mean kind of the makeup of the party, like how many thieves, how many fighters? We can answer both, but we have just enough time. We've got like 7 minutes or something. But we can answer both. But in terms of physically formation, people actually just being ranked up, I think it's useful also for players to think in terms of how do we deal with different situations, who is good at different things. And certainly, yes, I do see players doing stuff like, we should have the dwarf at the front in certain situations when we're in constructed underground areas, that sort of thing. I definitely see that, and thieves in general going ahead of stuff. And then I think often when they're going in corridors and they're kind of ranked up like that, they will nearly always have, and I think this is not bad practice, fighter at the front, fighter at the back, or something like that. Fighter at the front, and the elf fighter magic user is at the back, or something. Basically, somebody's a bit tougher.
Having no rear guard at all, or no meaningful rear guard, like one surprise attack in the rear will cure them for sure.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, in combat, that tends to be, and this is, of course, you can study your military history and learn that sometimes it's difficult to do that too. In actual combat, when you are deploying for combat, when you're trying to get the most DPS essentially, and also tank into the right position, then it can be a problem that you need to leave your rear exposed, or you are. And so with encounters, Prince's point is, if there are open corridors in front and behind, the encounter could reasonably come from in front or behind, and you need as DM to determine where it's coming from, of course, depending on realistic options for the monsters or the wanderers, whoever it is, to get there. But of course, it may well be that you cannot afford, because you need all the reinforcements at the front, you cannot afford to leave a rear guard anymore. So of course, that's something where players will have
the wizard get a dog. How dog?
No, it's again something my players do. War dogs. Not every town has them though, because of course it is actually like trained dogs who are that trained are actually not particularly common. But they are good. It's also where, if it is on the right dungeon layer, it's the kind of thing you could say. So it's not, because I allow hirelings to go to the first dungeon layer. Henchmen will obviously go down as deep as they personally feel they can, but the hireling will go to the first dungeon layer. And in that case, you could say, well, we leave the heavy footman behind us to watch our rear, or something.
This was this is a sort of a bit of inferred rules meta in AD&D. The reasoning is because if you encounter adventuring parties, they will have man-at-arms, so 0th level fighters with them in the first 3 levels of the dungeon. But after that, they will only have leveled characters. So the idea behind that is that they will not go beyond that level. It's a little bit meta, but on the other hand, it's actually fine. It makes sense.
You can also infer it from loyalty modifiers, like they don't like, if you put them into unnecessary danger, that is a loyalty malus. And so in that case, it's not unreasonable to say that a 0th level equivalent is not going to be super happy about going to the
they make it clear that 0th level fighters that go into the dungeon in any case are a rarity. Like, they're not so easily available. But mercenaries in general are.
All right. Here's a question. Because I've occasionally, not for that purpose, maybe once ever, but what about 0th level equivalent? I know that this is not something that is offered generically, but like 0th level priests, like for me, it's like Orison. The idea that you could hire a guy who goes around with you and can give you a cure minor wounds for 1 hit point, that kind of thing. Like, where would you maybe you never thought about it, but where would you stand on that? Like 0th level or a 0th level magic user type, but who can do a cantrip, like a minor spark of set of sparks or something. Wizard's Apprentice.
I think that
how do you deal with that?
Well, I think people came up with 0th level spells to sort of to deal with a complaint of people not being able to cast enough spells when you're low level. I'm not convinced that 0th level spells are a great idea, but I guess it's sort of in my mind, this is something you come up with because the wizard has the 2 spells or 1 spell, and then it's Neville Longbottom, and you can cast your crap to your darts, or throw burning oil badly. But on the other hand, just get a wand, silly. Like give them 1 item. If they find 1 scroll or 1 item, it's fine. It's fixed.
I'd say as you know, we talked about the channel. I give a 1 a day. So what versions of these first appear in Unearthed Arcana and in Dragon.
Right.
in the 1.5 era, and so there's a lot of
Yeah.
controversy about why they're there and stuff. And some of it would be for what you're saying. Now, of course, there's weird stuff like how cantrip originally appears, and orison originally appears as like cantrip is 4 first level spells. You trade 1 first level for 4 cantrips or something,
Oh,
and
I see.
orison is just a super flexible first level spell or something like that. I think, in fact, the dragon version that then gives like, oh well, maybe they could also be druid versions. It does the same thing as cantrip. Exchange 1 for 4. The way I do it is just everyone has 1 a day, which is just the kind of the first stuff you learn when you turn up.
Yeah,
And yeah,
I'm also
what I find is that sorry, I was going to say what I find
yeah.
is interesting that for priests, I think the way that orison is written in the second edition book it's in is flexible. That means that I think people know that like I can get 1 point of healing, or I can like sense magic in an area but not detect individual items, or I can do 1 or 2 other meaningful things. I think cantrip is actually the one which is probably more fun for the inventive player, because it's like super minor illusion, like make a small bang or have a cloud of sparks, and it lasts for a while and you can do a few things. I think I like the idea of giving players more options, but in a way that doesn't significantly shift the meta. It's a bit like why I don't mind specialization. I use specialization in its second edition equipped version, because I'm like it doesn't seriously shift the game in a negative way, and it does mean that the fighter feels like, yeah, actually I'm going to be able to kind of excel at something. And yeah, I don't think they're necessary. I don't think these things are necessary. But I was thinking more about for NPCs. That was the question. Would you be up for the players finding that the minor local hedge priest who can can do a 1 hit point spell a day, and hire him to come and be at your campsite?
I would just give them a few cleric levels and go, here you go. They
As
don't
in,
all have to be
you'd be more generous. Yeah, you'd be. Yeah,
yeah,
So yeah,
first or second level guy. That's fine. Here we go.
yeah. I have had a party now, because they were going the keep they've been given as their domain, but which they have to clear to make their domain and the area around it. They were like, we actually only have a paladin, and we don't have any priests, so we don't have any. We have like very minimal healing in the PCs who are available, and they noticed this when they'd gone there the previous time. And I think and so they're like, I was like, well, you can hire henchmen, was what I said, and they hired a 3rd level henchman to come and help them, because they recognize there are 2 henchmen in that party. Players who play enough and who see, who are dealing with some of these questions, I think do actually see the point of hirelings and henchmen a lot more than players who don't, or who only play very narrow kind of versions of the game.
Sure.
Because yeah, actually it is worth giving up a half share of your treasure to make sure there's a guy with 2 cure light wounds and turn undead or whatever it is. But that is super valuable if you don't have that. Which does go back to the composition question, which I know I wasn't asking, but it does go back to the composition question of actually, just if your player's like, oh, we don't have everything, just say, do you know what? You can go and try to get someone to help you. Yeah, I think that's a good option. We're going to wrap up. I don't know if there's any. What's your final thoughts on the Withered Crag, Prince?
Well, my final thoughts on Withered Crag is get it, check it out. Like, there's not a lot of I mean, there's a lot of like low level adventures in the OSR, that's for sure, but not a lot of good ones for AD&D. So so go get them. You don't fight a god at level 2, so it doesn't have that. But it's just overall just very solid, very good sort of like variation. It's short too, in the sense that again, it's only 14 pages. I read it. I seeded hooks in my campaign. Maybe they'll get to it, or maybe they keep doing some other stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, I like it. As I say, I think there is one thing which is enough of a peeve to bring up, which was I think if you're going to have wanderers, it is a thing in a published product, and you're saying there is a wanderer table, and these are some ideas. I think just write the tables. That is my one peeve. I think otherwise, I like the maps. I think it's all really clear and readable. I think it is structurally vanilla. Like I said, structurally it's vanilla, but stylistically, it's well into sword and sorcery. So there's a thing there where actually
vanilla
you're getting
it's
vanilla plus, yeah. And I think there are a couple of things which maybe are a bit, I feel might be hard for your second level party to come and do. But
you know, they gotta grow up sometime. I might even run
Yeah.
it for my 2nd/3rd level party.
Yeah.
I
I
gotta think about that one.
exactly.
We'll see.
Exactly. Yeah, but I think the point is that players get to choose what risks they take, as long as you are a good enough DM to make clear these areas might, you know, you give information that players can respond to. They'll choose their risks. And in that case, particularly the Dracopedes are really tough if you want the best stuff. But then that's fine. And if the players don't, the thief will still level up, won't he? The thief and the cleric level up. The other guys, you just need to go and raid some orcs, and then they'll level up. But
exactly.
Yeah, I think
And on
it's
that
good.
note,
I would definitely. I will find a cause to use it. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks, Meow.
Well, Owen, thank you for a fine episode, and thank you for for covering this this beauty. There were some digressions, but I trust that they were at least sufficiently entertaining for.
I hope the
audience.
digressions are part of the point, aren't they? Yeah, the digressions are part of the point.
The digressions. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, thanks a lot.
People don't care about anything else. Yep, and we'll be back in. I'm thinking like 3.5 weeks. 3.5 weeks or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Sure. All right.
Anyway, good night, everyone.
Have a great week.